Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakula, and in this video I will focus on stamping quick monochromatic floral patterns and cards, and I'm going to be using the Oh Happy Day stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. If you don't have this stamp set, many other floral sets can be used for this. However, I think that this one is a really good one. There's a nice mix of florals and sentiments in here. If you don't have this stamp set, you want to look for large, bold florals with a lot of solid space. Not an outline, but a solid image with some detail. Here I have one pattern already stamped and used on a card, and this is what we'll be making in this video. If you think this looks complicated, or if you think you can never do this, do give it a try. Stamping patterns like this is easy and relaxing too, and there's only one rule you need to follow to have great results. I find I need to use 4 or better 5 colors of ink or shades of ink. Here I have several pinks and corals from Simon Says Stamp, and I used Rosy Cheeks, Teeny Bikini, Apricot, Sunkissed, and Twirling Tutu. You can see by the lids of these ink pads, although lids never show true color, but you can see by looking at the lids that these are very similar ink colors. So these were used to stamp the pattern on the card you see on the screen right now. You can use many other color combos to stamp similar patterns, and I've done 4 in total using various colors of ink. Here I've picked up mints in light blue colors. I have Lake Shores, Mint Candy, Spring Rain, Surf Blue, and Cloudy Sky. And I also have a group of yellow and orange colors. I have Lemon Zing, which by the way is a new color of ink from Simon, and I actually didn't use it on this card. I ended up using a different color. I also have Duckling, Sunshine, Melon, and I'll use Hybrid Ink Golden Locks as my 5th color. Speaking about different types of ink, you can do this technique with whatever type of ink you have. So this works with pigment, with dye, and with hybrid inks. Let's go ahead and do some stamping now. I'm going to work on panels of white cardstock, and these are cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I will be die cutting these later to have smaller rectangles for my cards. By the way, you can do your stamping on a full letter sheet and then just cut it into smaller rectangles if you want to have 4 panels done in identical colors. I love doing that as I feel that stamping on large sheet of paper when using a large stamp like this flower saves me a lot of time. And I have a video tutorial where I share the process of stamping a pattern onto a letter sheet instead of a smaller panel, and I'll link to that video in the video description. Today I'm stamping onto smaller panels because I'm trying out various color combinations and because I don't really need 4 identical cards at the moment. Another product that I will use throughout this video, even though I will not be showing it in the video, is the scrubber pad from Hero Arts and also the Ultra Clean Stamp Cleaning Solution. I always use these products to clean my stamps when I'm working with dye inks from Simon Says Stamp, Hero Arts, or W+9. This is the best product out there, in my personal opinion, to get your stamps cleaned from any ink. And since I will be doing stamping using such different colors of ink, I will need to clean my stamps. I do want to say that I will not be cleaning my stamps after each color of ink, but I will clean it when I switch from one group of colors, so say yellow, to another group of color, say mint. The way you use these products is you spray the Ultra Clean solution, and I'm almost out of mine, onto the side of the scrubber pad, onto one side. You rub the stamp on that side to get rid of the ink. Next, you rub the stamp on the other side to dry it, and that's it. I also like to stamp it off a few times onto a scrap piece of paper just in case. And you can also wash these scrubber pad inserts, and I like to wash mine with soap and water. And I do so every few months depending on how much stamping and cleaning of my stamps I do. But this is a great product and I've been using it for a few years now and I really love it. It's really a favorite of mine. Now that my stamp is clean, I'm going to go ahead and start stamping. I like to start by stamping a large flower in one color of ink 3 times onto my panel, creating a visual triangle. And this is the only rule that you want to remember and follow when creating a pattern like this one. Now, I can't always stamp images so they end up forming a triangle, but this is the rule I try to follow. Don't worry if you don't get a perfect impression when you do your stamping. You can see I'm not using my Misty stamp positioner here, as it's actually faster to stamp this by using just a clear block. So don't worry if you didn't get a perfect impression. There's going to be a little bit of image overlap, so little imperfections will end up being covered up in the end by another layer of ink. I also like to work from the lightest color to the darkest, and the only reason I go through colors this way is because I then don't have to clean the stamp when I switch colors. If I go from light to dark, the lighter color of yellow is not going to contaminate the darker yellow, so I don't have to spend time cleaning the stamp. If I were to go from darker yellow to lighter yellow, I would probably have to clean the stamp to avoid getting ink transfer onto the lighter ink color. So I go to stamp the second and third layer of flowers or color of flowers, and I try to stamp a floral triangle. I'm overlapping the previously stamped images, and I'm not doing any masking. This background is all about having your images overlap. I ended up not using the Lemon Zing ink color for this background, and I replaced it with the apricot and stamped the last fourth color of ink in apricot. I mostly added it to the sides of the panel and used it to fill any gaps I had. Next, I used the small flower center image and stamped it in several sections again, filling in the gaps by using Golden Locks ink. I still had that top left hand side corner empty, so I went back to the Sunshine ink and stamped another flower in the corner and one more in the bottom of this panel. And all of that stamping took me, you won't believe it, just 3 minutes. 3 minutes, that's it. Let me quickly show you how to stamp this pattern one more time. I've cleaned my stamp using the scrubber pad and the Ultra Clean solution from Hero Arts, and I'm going to use mint and light blue colors this time. I have my ink chart to the side, it's off camera, and I'm using it to determine which of the colors of ink I have picked out is the lightest, and I'm using that color to start with. Again, I'm following that rule of a triangle and stamping flowers overlapping each other. I forgot to mention that I'm also rotating the stamp to make it appear a little bit more diverse. And once I've stamped the large flower and filled the background, I'm using the flower center and stamping it in the fifth color of ink to fill in the gaps in the background. Overall, I made 4 backgrounds: pink, teal, yellow, and purple. Once my backgrounds were stamped, I used Simon's Basic Rectangles dies, and I die cut rectangles using the second largest die from that set. In case you're wondering what colors of ink I used for the purple background, those are Hot Mama, Dull Pink, Thistle, and Wisteria. Only 4 colors this time. This particular background, the purple one, ended up being a little bit too vibrant for my taste. I wish I'd used a few more less vibrant colors for this particular stamping. I left my backgrounds to dry on their own for quite some time as I was watching Euro 2016 soccer tournament with my hubby, and then I came back to do the sentiments on these. I needed these to be dry as I was planning to heat emboss the sentiments. This is where a Misty stamp positioner came in handy. I mounted the sentiments onto the lid of my Misty and I heat embossed all of them, so I did identical sentiments on all 4 panels. I tested each panel to make sure it was dry before embossing the sentiments, and I did have to dry them some more with the help of my heat tool. I needed the ink to be completely dry for the embossing to stay nice and clean, so that took me a few more minutes to dry all of these, and I just kept moving my heat tool up and down or from left to right, making sure not to keep it in one spot for longer than a fraction of a second to minimize paper warping. Once my panels were dry, I placed them in my mini Misty, used the anti-static powder tool to eliminate the static or any grease and oils from my fingers, inked up these stamps with Versamark ink. I finally have a new juicy ink pad, and then added Simon's Antique Gold embossing powder on top and heat set it with my heat tool. I repeated these steps and heat embossed the same sentiments onto all of my panels, and then I used a fun foam to foam mount these panels onto card bases. I wanted to make sure to keep the stamped and embossed panels flat, so I used Jennifer Maguire's tip. Instead of using foam adhesive squares, I used fun foam. I happen to have absolutely no white fun foam, but I do have a bunch of fun foam in different colors, so I matched the color of fun foam to the color of my stamped panel. I wanted to keep these cards super flat, and I didn't want to add any additional embellishments, so I only adhered a clear drop to each under the sentiments, and I used my Quickie glue pen to do that. So this finishes my today's video. Here's another look at these quick monochromatic stamped floral patterns. This video is a part of a blog hop to celebrate Simon Says Stamp Masterpiece box release. Be sure to head over to my blog. I have a few more card ideas using other goodies, and be sure to join the hop and get inspired. If you're interested in the products I used, I have them linked down below in my YouTube description and also on my blog. Here are a few more videos on my channel featuring stamping patterns. First one talks about tips for stamping floral patterns using floral clusters. Second one talks about stamping large patterns. And the third one shows how to stamp a floral pattern using color layering images. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet done so, and thank you so much for watching.